Hi everyone, Jasper Basson here, founder of Drake Holdings and the financial director of Lead Optimizers. Lately, I've been really focused on reading books regarding neuroscience and the subconscious mind. And I came across a very, very good book, a very hard book for me to read, very challenging, and which is not a bad thing, but a really challenging book. And it's called Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf. I'm really grateful to have her on my show today. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
If just in a nutshell, if I can ask you about your 21-day detox program, that's also obviously not just part of your Switch on Your Brain book, but also um, on the internet, on your website, available for on a whole course. If you can just quickly give us in a nutshell, idea of what it's all about.
Okay, so basically, my work has been in brain research for the specifically mind-brain research over the last 30 years, and looking at how the power of our minds can change our physical structure of our brain, and therefore improve our life and improve our health and our mind health and so on. Worked with all kinds of different patients and so on. I explained that in the book that you're referring to. I've written plenty of books, and the one that you're referring to, where the 21-day detox is in, is this book,
Yes.
Switch on Your Brain. And then I've also got an updated version of the process in this book, which we released this week globally, called Think, Learn, Succeed, which we released on Tuesday around the world, which we're very excited about. So basically, I studied the science of thoughts to see how a thought forms, because our mind is not our brain. Our mind is separate from our brain. And that's very important to understand, that our mind is not our brain. And our brain is only a physical substance it's a responder to the mind. The mind is 90 to 99% of who we are. So when we talk about the non-conscious mind, and you mentioned the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, those are three different things. And they're very important when it comes to building habits, building long-term memories, which are different things. And in terms of the whole science of thought, the physical side, which is our brain and our body, is only about maximum 10% of who we are. So most of the stuff is done in our mind. You need both brain and mind. We express ourselves through our brain and our body. But to make something change in our life, a successful habit, like I call my latest book, Think, Learn, Succeed, you need to be able to use the power of your mind to rewire the brain. And that's not a quick fix. And we live in an age where we know technologically it's just so easy to get so much information at your fingertips, but we gather information like puzzle pieces, but we don't take the time to build the puzzle, to think deeply. And if you don't think deeply, you don't activate the non-conscious stores of your mind correctly, where our memories are stored, and then they won't move to the subconscious, which is just below consciousness, and then they won't move into the conscious mind, or they'll move in a very haphazard way. So essentially the time it takes to really gather up knowledge in your mind that you have, in order to build new information, which is coming in from what you've read and what you're experiencing, does take time. There's no quick fix. It's good old-fashioned hard work. To build a long-term memory takes 21 days, and it takes minimum of 21 days. And that's daily, deliberate, intentional mind work, not just random, chaotic response, reactive thinking. It's very deliberate and intentional thinking for at least 7 to 16 minutes a day. And then after 21 days of doing that, you would then have a long-term memory. But that long-term memory doesn't have sufficient energy yet to move into your conscious mind to impact how you function. So to turn something into something that does that, which is actually what a habit is, takes another 42 days minimum. So you're looking at least 63 days to build a thought that's going to make effective lifelong change in one's life. So that's hence the name of my 21-day brain detox, is basically our brain and body work in cycles of 21 days. But it's never just one cycle. It's at least 3 cycles for each change that you want to make.
You also answered about my next 3 questions. Everything in there. I was just about to ask you about your new book, but yeah, now that you've mentioned it, I'm very excited. I've also ordered it and on pre-order, and very excited to read it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I'm very excited about. All my books have different content in, and different things from my techniques from my clinical practice. And this one is accumulation of a lot of different tools that I created, or 3 different tools, I should say, that I created to help my patients to be able to think correctly and learn correctly, and then just achieve meaningful success. And there's such you in the corporate world, so yourself how busy it is and how people are rushing time management and all that kind of thing, and how success is such a definite goal that people have. They want to be successful in everything, but I kind of redefine success for people there, because success is such an individual thing, and I tie success into a meaningful life, a life that is meaningful, and I tie it into mental self-care. Because if you're going to succeed in a meaningful way, you're going to have to mentally self-care. You're going to have to look after your mind. Now, you being in the corporate environment, and those of you that are listening are in the corporate environment, so we know for a fact that mindfulness is a big deal at the moment. Everyone's doing mindfulness training, and it's fantastic. It teaches you how to be aware of in the moment. It teaches you the first step in self-regulation. But the carryover, the research is showing that the carryover of mindfulness is not that effective into the all-day workplace and into a continual successful life. So there's something that you need to do more. And I found from my research that you have to go beyond mindfulness. So I talk about 5 steps that I researched in how the brain, how we build memory in the brain with our mind. So our mind builds the memory, and there's 5 steps. And the first step is pretty much a mindfulness step. And then the other 4 steps take you beyond mindfulness, take you into being very deliberate, very intentional, very organized, very structured but creative in how you build memory. And it applies to anything. It doesn't matter what you do, whether you're at school, university, in corporate life, you're always building memory. And if you don't build it effectively, you build up toxic waste in your brain. And that leads to an increased vulnerability to illness, to mind issues, to mental ill health, and so on. And it increases it dramatically by 75 to 98%. So we see a dramatic move in that direction, where people are just really battling with all the busyness and so on. This book, Think, Learn, Succeed, is really teaching people how to get the more deliberate, intentional mindset of going beyond mindfulness. So the first tool I teach is on mindsets, and a mindset's an attitude. And there are 15 different mindsets that I've researched. And for example, forgiveness, gratitude, happiness, controlled emotions, the thinker mindset. These are all different mindsets that are powerhouses that our brain is wired for and our mind is designed to handle. We only wired for the positive. We wired for love. That's what the scientists actually say, wired for love. So we don't have structures in our brain and our body for fear and anxiety and worry, and we don't have our amygdala doesn't drive us like we're always hearing in the neuro leadership courses and things. That's not accurate science at all. Your amygdala, which is a part of your brain that responds to emotions, doesn't drive you. You control everything in your brain. So you can rewire anything in your brain. And that's what this book is teaching you to do, how to rewire incorrect mindsets into correct mindsets. Now, mindset's like an attitude filled with information, and it's filled with emotions, but it has a flavor, like an umbrella flavor. And it's either going to be happy or not happy, or gratitude or lack of gratitude, peace or lack of peace, or controlled emotions or not controlled emotions. Now, we're not designed for the negative. We're only designed for the positive. So in understanding what a mindset is, we get the knowledge that we can then use to move forward in how we're actually functioning as a human. So mindsets contain power. When you release them, and I have activation tips for how to release them, you start really seeing meaningful success in your life, as is defined by you, because there's something you can do that no one else can do. It's very important we don't try and be successful like someone else's success. You've got to find your own success and what that looks like. In the second part of the book, I bring in a tool that I use extensively with my patients, and I've used now honestly with hundreds of thousands around the world. It's a tool to help people to understand how they uniquely think, feel, and choose. So in a mindset is a mindset. It's a powerhouse, but how you built the mindset in the first place is through your thinking. So you want to understand your thinking so that you can recognize when you've got the wrong mindset and change it and rewire that. So you need to understand how you uniquely think. You need to get to know yourself, which gives you purpose and gives you meaning. It improves your relationships, improves communication. It is vastly powerful because your mind drives everything. So you may as well get to know how your mind works. So the second part of the book teaches you how to understand your thinking processes, and it's filled with a profile and charts and a little like questionnaire, and it's very scientific, very clinically applied, very easy to use, and gives you tremendous insight into who you are, which helps boost your purpose and your meaning. And then the third part are the 5 steps that I developed based on how our brain builds memory that you can then bring in and make sure that you are learning correctly, building your brain correctly.
Thank you very much. I'm just gonna touch on the this whole webinar series of mine is based for for startup entrepreneurs, and something I've had to learn over a period of 20 years is really that first hour and a half in the morning as your morning rituals. Various people do various things. I start my day with gratitude, like you just mentioned. Any tips for, or maybe some suggestions, maybe something that you do as a morning ritual to get you to set up your day?
Okay, so it's interesting. People ask me that a lot, and it's because people have done research showing that that morning ritual is really important. But I have a slightly different way of approaching it. I don't have a morning ritual. I have a ritual that I continue through the day. So I try not just have it as something I start. I try to have a carryover effect during the course of the day as well. So the 21-day detox that I do in here, I'm always doing a detox because we always need to be dealing with issues. So you take one thought over 21 days times 3, and you're working on that toxic issue. So you work on, and you spend about 7 minutes on that. So I'm always, normally when I get ready in the morning, I do that. And then obviously, besides healthy eating, I have a book called Think and Eat Yourself Smart, where I talk about how we need to eat real food mindfully. And there's some really great tips in there about eating, because if you don't feed your brain and your body, you're going to be sitting with a problem as well. And then the other thing that's very important is I do the daily tips, the activation tips in the mindset section here. There's a whole lot of them. There's 15 mindsets with 15 activation tips. Those are excellent things to do in the morning. So like you say, gratitude, there's a gratitude mindset. And what people can do is they can study the concepts of the mindset, maybe read it the night before, even over a period of 7 days, read a little paragraph a day or something, and then apply a mindset activation tip. And then you could work through the 15. So you could honestly stretch that out over a 4 or 5 month period and really train yourself to stay in the important mindsets. And that's what I do. I work on the mindsets on a daily basis. So those are just a couple of the routines that I find very effective, because if you don't get your mind right, yes, the exercise is vital. I'm not saying don't do that. I talk about that. The eating is vital, but I start my day with get the detoxing going, because the detox will block, and get the right mindsets in, because the mindsets that you have that day in the morning and during the course of the day will either launch you through that day in a positive way or put you into toxic stress and hold you back. So, and then the other thing that I do a lot of is I practice self-regulation. I practice self-examination. Like Socrates once said, the unexamined life is not worth living. So being aware of self-regulation is a vital component. We need to constantly, and we're designed to self-regulate every 10 seconds, which I teach in this book, how we've got to self-regulate every 10 seconds. And that's 6 times a minute. We should be checking what we're thinking, feeling, and choosing, and how we're responding.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much. I've got one question that came through from from our followers, and I'm just going to quickly read it to you, and it's based on the morning rituals as well. And if you can just quickly read, many Christians are confused regarding the topic of meditation and often see it as an Eastern ritual. How can Christians utilize meditation?
Well, I think we mustn't be scared of it. It's often a lack of knowledge and ignorance about what the term means that people get frightened about something. And, you know, the association, I mean, meditation is a vital component of any human function. In my thinker mindset, which is one of the first mindsets, if you don't actually take time every day to meditate, to think deeply, to just be aware of your surroundings, and just to switch off to the external and switch on to your mind, your brain will actually break down. The circuits in your brain will actually pull apart. And if you want to take it from a Christian perspective, David meditated. So meditation is just getting in that space where you find out what's going on in your head and get order in your thoughts, and also get creative. And it's fantastic for boosting brain health, and for boosting creativity, and for boosting mind health. We should do it frequently during the course of a day. Like very often I'm in a meeting and I'll go zone in and out into a thinker moment, into a meditative moment, or to reboot the brain. And then also frequently during the day, at least 15 to 16 minute period in the day I'll take. And I recommend that, and that's what the research shows, to just meditate with nothing, no phones, computers, nothing, just relaxing. Just meditate, just getting your mind, it becomes very active. When you switch off to the external, the internal networks of your brain really become very active. So it's a vital and healthy and very important human function.
Just lastly, I know my time is almost up. I've started doing, not every week, but some weeks I do a social media fast. I really just switch off, take off all my Facebook and Instagram apps just to have a fast. And I found obviously that weeks I've been way more productive than the other weeks that I do have the apps on. And obviously it's a very difficult time in our lives that we need the apps in some sort in social media for promoting our businesses, but it's in other senses just as dangerous. Just lastly, any tips on how business people can need to manage social media?
Yeah, it's a disciplined approach because it's very beneficial. Social media is a fantastic tool, and technology, but it's just controlling it, because whatever you think about the most will grow. So you will merge with your environment. And what the danger of using social media incorrectly is that we designed for deep intellectual thought. So if you're constantly scrolling through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and never really reading an article in depth or really thinking about something in depth, you actually cause this firing up, and it's an unsettling kind of pattern that you create in your brain that makes you feel almost anxious and unsettled. So that's why it's better to say, okay, I'm going to do social media now, I'm going to do my emails now, I'm going to do this now, and then put it down. And so you have very disciplined times during your day that you don't constantly get on your phone in a very reactive way. It must be more planned, more organized. In fact, in this book, both of these books, I talk about social media from different angles, and I have examples and activation tips on how to manage social media in your life. And that's one of the very big tips you'll see I keep on stressing is regulate everything. Don't just randomly do it. It's so easy just to carry your cell phone around, and to just respond to every beep and little noise that comes off the phone and keep looking at it. Discipline yourself. Don't look at it that often. Time it. That I'm going to look at social media in these time periods during the day, and try and stick to that, and try and limit the amount of time, and try and also, another thing that I brought my kids up doing, and I train a lot of corporate environments, and I train in education, and I train in churches, and I train all over the world in different environments, is I always say balance your reading with your social media. So in other words, like if you're going to be scrolling through, there's not much thinking that's involved there. So make sure that you read and think about what you've read. If you're reading using Kindle or your social media, try also grab a book sometimes and read out of a book. It's a very, very good experience for your brain. And not just read it, think about it. Stop, even if you read one page. Taking the time to stop and think is very, very important for brain health and mind health.
Now, I'm also still very old school when it gets to reading. I'm still reading out of this my book as well. I'm still reading out of books, do highlights, write in journals. So I'm also very, very old school regarding that. But I found that the same books that I read or listen to on something like Audible, audiobooks, and the book I read is I take much more in from reading it.
Yeah, the research shows as well, just that physical opening the book and touching it and writing in it and the notes, and you kind of create a love affair with the book. You have a conversation with the book, which you don't have in technology. Now, it's very convenient to be able to carry all those books around on Kindle. Like I travel globally and I can't have so I have my hard copies at my house in my office, but not, so it is convenient, but you've got to balance. It's all about balance, self-regulation.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and good luck with your tour, the rest of your tour in South Africa.
Thank you so much. Great talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.